Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining this webinar on Flood Modeler 7.3. As Chris says, I'm Adam Parks. I'm the Technical Director for Digital Flood Products at Jacobs. I'm also a hydraulic modeler and hydrologist with 20 years experience of hands-on hydraulic modeling, both in the UK and further afield. So I'm really excited by some of the changes we've been making to Flood Modeler through version 7, including in 7.3. And some of the stuff that's coming in version 8 as well are really going to make modelers' lives easier, make it easier to undertake modeling, to understand risk and design schemes, appraisals, and manage flooding. This webinar will be a combination of me talking about the new features, but also some live demonstrations of how they can be used and what benefits they will bring you. So in this webinar, I'll be covering an overview of the Flood Modeler roadmap. This is what we've done up to now, as well as what we're doing in the future, to give you an understanding of what features are coming in the near future, as well as our future updates. I'll be looking in depth about what's new in Flood Modeler 7.3, with particular emphasis on the integrated bridge or super bridge unit, on the Hydrology Plus reporting tools, and as well as the simulation builder tool. Towards the end of the presentation, I've got some time to talk a little bit about what's coming in version 8, which is due for release later this year, and it's got some really exciting changes. And as Chris has said, at the end of the presentation, we've got time for questions. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box in the GoToWebinar interface. Before I get into the roadmap, just a little bit on the philosophy behind what we're doing. Ultimately, what we want is software that's easy to reuse, robust, and fast. No matter where you are in your career, from new modelers, aspiring modelers, learning the software for the first time, through to power users who may have been in the business for decades and need that confidence and the tools to make the right decisions. And modeling is hard. Getting to grips with hydraulic modeling, no matter what package you're using, is hard. There's a lot of concepts out there, and we want to make it as easy as possible for people to learn these new skills, learn the tools, and find the functionality they need to complete their projects. We focused through the recent updates on digitizing workflows, such as hydrology, which traditionally have used multiple packages, multiple ways of working, and are quite manual and time-consuming. We've worked to digitize those workflows, reducing the number of steps and automating where we can. Data integration, so bringing in data, making that easier, so bringing data straight into your models, your processes, without having to convert it or adjust it first, as well as intuitive user interfaces. Ultimately, we want to make your lives easier as users, to provide you the tools you need to address client problems with confidence, and ultimately, we want the software to be enjoyable to use. So into Flood Modeler roadmap. This is the broad roadmap of what we've been delivering. So version 7 of Flood Modeler has really been focused on Hydrology Plus, automating the hydrology workflow and data integrations with partners such as Fathom, the Environment Agency, and SEPA. This gives you the ability to undertake your hydrology quickly and efficiently and bring the data in when you need it. Alongside that, there have been numerous other updates and improvements I'll touch on shortly. Version 8, which I'll talk at the end of the presentation about in more detail, is focused on enhancements to the user experience and the user interface, so making it far more usable and making features and functionality more discoverable, bringing a new 2D solver, as well as a new way of working with that solver, and various under-the-hood improvements such as a new GIS engine. And again, I'll talk about that towards the end of the presentation. Version 9 of Flood Modeler is coming in 2016. We're already working on this, and this is going to be focused around improvements to the 1D urban tools, the ability to model integrated pipe networks, as well as further enhancements to the 1D river tools, and continuous improvement of things we've added in previous versions. And if there's anything you want to see, if there are features you need or things you want to change, please let us know. We're always looking for user suggestions. We ran a great workshop at the conference this year where Rob Donegan, our user experience designer, really dug deep into what we're doing and understanding where users want to see change. So what have we done so far? We've released throughout last year version 7, 7.1 and 7.2, which is the core of the Hydrology Plus functionality, which I'll recap in a minute. alongside improvements such as the ability to access WinFAP and RFH licenses through Flood Modeler, integration with external data sets such as Fathom's global risk mapping data, updates to the damage calculator, and many, many other improvements. 7.3, which is due to be released in the next few weeks, is going to bring the simulation builder, report builder, the new super bridge or integrated bridge, as well as refinements to existing tools. That software is just going through final testing now, getting ready for release. And version 8 is scheduled to be released in the summer of this year, and this brings really substantial changes to Flood Modeler, and I'll talk about those later on in the presentation. So let's get into version 7. I'm going to quickly recap what's been added in 7.1 and 2, because that then feeds into the new tools we've added into version 7.3. As I say, 7.7.0 has really been all about integrated hydrology, the ability to undertake hydrological analysis directly in Flood Modeler and connect that analysis into your hydraulic model. Working with our partners at Wallingford Hydro Solutions, we've brought integration with WinFAP and RFH, the two industry tools for undertaking hydrology in the UK. One of the first things you can do is now you can access gauge data from across the UK from different organisations, EA, SEPA, NRFA, and visualise that data directly in Flood Modeler. This previously, a few years ago, would have taken years to do. You have to request the data, receive it in different formats, and process it. You can now access gauge data from across the UK in one place, visualize it, inspect it, and import it directly into your models to undertake calibration or hydrological analysis. And we'll continue to expand the number of data sets available within here. And if there are any gauge providers you're aware of you want us to add, again, just let us know. You can also access FEH catchment descriptor data within Flood Modeler. So once you've downloaded that data from the FEH web service by UKCH, you can bulk or individually import that data into your hydrology database and see it alongside your models and hydrology, which is a great way of seeing what data you've got and where that exists already within your organization. Where you've got catchment descriptors or gauges, you can also start a hydrological analysis within Flood Modeler. Again, tying it into the work we've done with Wallingford Hydro Solutions, you can initiate an RFH analysis, and the results will then be imported into the database rather than sitting on a hard drive or an Excel spreadsheet. You've got the data live within your database. You can jump straight back into RFH if you want to make edits or alterations. You can see what analysis was done, who did it, when they did it, and maintain that data provenance chain, which is often lacking in hydraulic modelling. I'm sure I'm not the only person to have picked up a model and the hydrology hasn't been included. It's a real struggle to understand what's happened. With Hydrology Plus, the hydrology lives with the model, giving you greater confidence. It's the same with the WinFAP analysis. Once that analysis has been done, including pooling group alterations, all that data is saved within Flood Modeler for future access. A key element of Hydrology Plus is the ability to reconcile your hydrographs and do climate change analysis, and this feeds straight into the sim builder in a minute. So once you've done your RFH and your WinFAP analysis, we often need to reconcile them. You want to factor up the hydrographs by the stats analysis, for instance. Again, you don't need to use a spreadsheet. You just click a few buttons and Flood Model will calculate those adjustments for you. It will also give you the correct climate change uplifts no matter where you are in the UK. We know where your calculation point is, and we've imported the relevant climate change guidance from EA, NRW, SEPA, and DFI, and you can apply those to your models and get your hydrographs out of them. And you can apply this data directly to your hydraulic model. So once you've created your hydrograph library, you can simply attach it to your simulation file, both 1D and 2D, connect it to an inflow node, and the software will do the rest for you. You don't need to convert that data using a spreadsheet. And from here, you can choose which return period, which climate change epoch, and so on you want to apply to your model. That's everything that's been added through to 7.2. What does 7.3 bring to Hydrology Plus? Well, the first thing we're bringing is the first stage of Report Builder. This is a really complex tool that we've been working on, and this is the first stage of it. Once you've completed your hydrology, you often have to report on it, building detailed technical reports, flood risk assessments, or hydrology pro formas for the likes of the Environment Agency. Up until now, my experience has certainly been that's a time-consuming and complex process, which could be made far easier. So what we're doing is allowing Hydrology Plus to export the data in a format that can be readily imported into your reports. That includes things such as tables of which gauges are available within your catchment, drawing in information from NRFA, Environment Agency, and elsewhere, so pre-populating these tables in the right format. Tables with your flood frequency analysis populated, including your adjustment factors and your climate change uplifts. And again, these can be dragged straight into your reporting. All your hydrographs, both as plots and tables, and your reconciliation factors and flood frequency curves. All these will come out in a range of formats, including tables you can edit, PNGs and images, which you can drag and drop straight into your reports, making it far easier to build these reports. And if you make a change to your hydrology, updating your reports. I say this is only the first stage of what we want to do. We'll continue working on this through version 8. And we want to get to the point where you can build your reports entirely within Flood Modeler, then export them out. So every time you make a change, all the figures, all the tables can get automatically updated, saving you time and effort and bringing consistency to what you're doing. We've also introduced an updated sim builder in 7.3. This recognizes that when you're using Hydrology Plus, you may be producing tens, if not hundreds of different hydrographs, which you want to bring into your model, and you don't want to spend hours creating your simulations. So sim builder works with the updated Hydrology Plus tool. It works with Flood Modeler 1D and 2 flow models. Includes event files as well as allowing you to edit 2 flow scenarios and events. Let's jump into a live demonstration. So let's grab my sim builder model. So this is 7.3 of Flood Modeler. Obviously, it looks very familiar. And what I've got here is a simple 1D, 2D model. So the 1D is an in-channel river and the 2D is the floodplain. My 1D model has got 3 boundaries, an upstream boundary from the main river, a tributary coming into one side, and then a downstream boundary, a normal depth boundary. If I have a look at the simulation file, bring that across, you can see it's been set up with lots of boundaries. So we've got event data, which is representing cross sections. So you can use an event file to replace cross sections if you want to look at geomorphological change, as well as a return period for that tributary in the middle. And then I've imported this H+ database to give me my main river inflows. You see if I click on these, I can access all the different return period flows I've got access to, storm durations, climate change factors, and so on. Now, if I want to run this, this model's also got a linked 2-flow model attached as well. If I wanted to create lots of simulations, it could be quite manually time-consuming to edit these and is prone to making mistakes. What I can do instead is use the Hydrology Plus sim builder. So if I right-click and choose sim builder, either in this menu or from the simulation menu, I find this interface. And what this done is automatically read in all that data, and it knows how I've configured my model, and it's given me tabs along the top for each of the model components I want to edit. So the first one is this section data. And what I can do is I can add in additional sections if I want to. So at the moment, I've got the base sections. If I've got some different cross sections for different futures, I could read those in, add one more. I've got that tributary input, and again, I can bring in additional events for those. So I've got these already preloaded into my project, so I can add those in if I want to. I've got my 2-flow link. So this links to a TCF file, and within here, I can put in options. So I can put in event or scenario flags, so I can edit what 2-flow is doing as well. And I've got some options in here to add additional 2-flow files or adjust how the results get written out, so it groups the results under multiple simulation folders. And finally, I've got my H+ boundaries. So in this case, I've got my standard return periods and only one epoch. So I may have multiple climate change epochs in here or multiple storm durations. This one only has one set. And it's telling me by making those decisions about sections and these return periods, I'm producing 20 simulations. I click Add to List, and Flood Modeler builds those simulations for me. You can see I've got 2 sets, one set for the baseline sections, one set for the secondary set. And if I want to add more, I just click Add, and it takes me back to that menu, and I can change these permutations, click Add again. It'll keep adding more and more simulations into my sim builder. And when I'm ready, I click Build. and those simulations we built, the IEF files and so on, and added to my batch simulation tool so I can carry on with my analysis. Just jump back into the presentation. The next thing I want to talk about is integrated units. This is the big change in 7.3, and it's something I've been involved with for the last year or so to get working, and I'm really excited about. At the moment, when you're building your model, each component requires a different unit. So if you're modeling a bridge, you may have a component for the bridge, spills around it, relief culverts, blockages. So in this case, you've got 6 units to represent one bridge, including junctions. This is time consuming and it's not very intuitive. With SuperBridge, with Integrated Bridge, we've got a single unit containing all that data. So it makes it far easier to build that model, gives you better data provenance, and makes it more intuitive to understand what's going on. So the Integrated Bridge includes inputs for USB, PR, arch, and pier loss bridges, the 3 types of bridge we have. Spills, whether they be around the bridge or over the deck, blockage units, and relief culverts. And it's a single click configuration, which I'll show you in a second, and incorporates integrated plotting as well. So I'm going to jump into a demonstration of what this looks like, because I'm really quite excited about this. Bring this one across. So here's a slightly different location. I've got let's switch the background mapping off for a second. So I've got a simple model made up of cross sections with an upstream boundary and a downstream boundary, and I want to add a bridge in here. Just drop the background mapping on again. You can see this is a river with a crossing for the M6. This is a USBPR flat deck structure. I want to model that. To do that, it's really easy. Previously, what I'd have to do is choose a section, add in a unit, type in all the node labels, and copy and paste data around. Now you simply choose the up and downstream cross sections for your bridge. Under 1D River, choose the bridge unit, and you've still got access to the old units if you want to use those as well. So click bridge, and what the software's done, it's automatically added a bridge unit in between those 2 cross sections and populated all the data in the bridge unit form, including the linking between the 1D cross sections and the bridge unit. So you don't need to manually add these in. It's automatically brought in the up and downstream section profiles, so I can flick between those, and it'll update the display on the left-hand side so I can see them. It allows me to give it a bridge name. So this is New Biggin Bridge, and this is the M6 crossing. And you can see the other nice thing it's done, it's taken the downstream reach length from the upstream cross section, added it as a bridge length. So that'll appear in the long sections. It makes it a lot more intuitive to understand what's happening in that bridge, and maintains the reach lengths within the model more accurately. I can choose in here what sort of bridge it is. So this is a USB PR bridge, and now I need to specify all the other details. There's a tab for each of those components along the top. The first thing I want to do is add in an opening. So if I right click, click add, I can specify the opening from the start to finish, the spring levels and soffit, and these don't need to tie up with cross-section points, so it will interpolate, which is a lot easier than it has been historically. So I'm going to start this thing at 11 meters, finish it at 22 meters, and set a springing level of 41 meters. And that's the bridge opening added. So I can pop that data in straight from the survey, and I can add multiple openings as well. So there's a multi-arch bridge. I can keep on adding these quickly, and this display will update and make that a bit bigger. The spill is the same. So if I've got a spill over the deck or around the outside, I can just add that in here. So I'm going to just put a flat deck spill in here. Make it, there we go. Add it into the model, and you can see what that looks like. So you've got the opening, and then you've got the flat deck spill over the top of the structure, and I can keep adding detail. This could be full detail from a survey and be very complex. I've got my blockage tool, so I can apply a blockage if I want to, and that could be because of debris or changes to the structure. And previously this would be a different unit, but it's all now done in the same place. I can add bypass culverts. So if you've got a flood relief culvert, you can add those in. Again, just simply right click, add it in, provide some details, lost the ability to type, and it gets added into the model. And again, I can add multiple units within here. I've also got access to all my other parameters as I would historically for the USB PR bridge and the general parameters as well, and they've all been grouped and rationalized. One other nice thing I can do is I can change the aspect ratio at a click. So it changes it and removes the vertical exaggeration, and I can see a more realistic profile of what my bridge looks like. So what would previously taken half an hour easily to add a bridge unit in can be done in a few minutes with the new bridge unit. Once you've run the model, the other thing the bridge unit does is to unify the results in one place. So previously we'd have had a plot for each of the components of the bridge. They're now all brought together in a single plot, which gives you the total flow through the unit, as well as breaks down the flow that's gone through the bridge opening, as well as the flow that's gone through the spill or through the relief culverts. And this makes it a lot easier to understand what's going on at your bridge unit in one place. This bridge unit, I'm really happy with. It's working well. We're going to continue to improve it through version 8 as we start to add the ability to hold more data like photographs and survey alongside the bridge to again give that data provenance piece. But it also shows you the types of changes we're making to every other unit in Flood Modeler, the ability to rapidly add units, to remove the amount of clicking, pasting of data or typing in data. We want to make it as easy as possible to add units such as weirs, junctions, bridges, reservoirs, spills, you name it, and ultimately the user's life easier so they can work faster. So those are the three main components of 7.3 with the sim builder, the H+ reporting tools, and the super bridge. I'm also in the next couple of minutes just going to give you a quick overview of what's coming next in Flood Modeler in version 8, and that's going to be released this summer. We've been working hard on version 8 for a long time, and there'll be some substantial changes which will both be immediately apparent to the users and under the hood, as it were. So a key thing we're doing is future-proofing the core. Flood Modeler software was written originally in Delphi code, and we've been transitioning that to C# all throughout this year, and will continue to do so. This may sound quite a technical change, but really it's a good thing. It lets us renew and update all the existing units, such as the bridge unit, so we can enhance functionality and improve reliability. It also gives us access to a wider base of developers, so we can expand more rapidly and make changes more rapidly than we could using Delphi. We're also upgrading the GIS engine behind Flood Modeler. So this is key, particularly if you're using 2D results to visualize and understand what you're doing. We've used the same engine for the last 5-10 years. And as models getting bigger, we're reaching the limits of what that can do. So we're having an upgrade of that engine, which allow you to visualize results more easily, to present results faster, particularly 2D results, include 3D viewing, faster and better interface with the user to generate GIS elements, to apply styling and so on. And so that's when we're going into version 8, and I'm really excited to see it. We're also working to refine how Flood Modeler looks. So these are some of the mock-ups that the developers are working through at the moment. And you can see it looks familiar, but we've reorganized a lot of the menus and the tools. They make more sense from the process users go through, grouping tools together in a more sensible way, giving you access to tools you need when you need them, and removing unnecessary interactions. We're also having the ability to switch to dark mode for those who enjoy that sort of thing. So you can set up your desktop application as you want it. We're also working hard on revamping the project file. As I say, data integrations is a key part of this, data provenance. So the new project file will allow you to group all your data together in one place and be the core of a new project. And we'll talk a lot more about that in the coming months, how that's going to work and how that'll work with those data integrations. Speaking of, we already have deep data integrations with mapping and gauge data. We want to expand that. We've already got access to data like Fathom global mapping, but we want to expand it to include elevation data, DTMs, LiDAR, land use data, so you can build your models faster without having to download data, edit it, and bring it in. So you'll be able to see the data available to you, import it directly into your models, and then it goes without further alteration, allowing you to build models faster. And if there are any data sets out there you're particularly interested in, please let us know. We're always on the lookout for more data sets, but you're going to see a lot more of this data integration in version 8, again, speeding up the workflow. V8 will also include the 2D Flex engine. So this is a new 2D solver based on work we've done with Southampton University. It's a finite volume solver supporting quad-tree and subgrid sampling and GPU acceleration. This has been worked on for the last 3 years and is supported by a reimagined 2D workflow, that ability to build a 2D model from scratch in a few minutes. We're still working through the benchmarking for this, and we're looking to publish that shortly to show you how fast it is and how reliable the new solver will be. And it will be a core part of the next release of Flood Modeler. I see I'm just about up on time. I hope you've enjoyed that overview of what's coming in 7.3 and version 8. As Chris said at the start of the webinar, there are a load of events coming up over the next couple of months, including webinars, free in-person breakfast briefings throughout February and March in London, Bristol, and Leeds, as well as a series of conferences, including Sniffer up in Edinburgh today. So if you're at the Sniffer conference, please go and see my colleague Alistair on the stand. Flooding Coast, and of course our conference in October next year in Leeds. Go to our website for any further details.